that gives us access to the grace of God. Faith opens the door that was shut. And this opens the door to salvation. We said last week we need salvation. We can't save ourselves. We need it. If we don't get salvation, we are going to die. But Jesus, the Lord, wants us to live on. So now, faith gives us access to the grace of God. Faith is the door to salvation. Salvation without faith is impossible. You cannot be saved if you don't have faith. So now let me ask, what is faith? Anybody? Anybody online too? What is faith? Things that are not seen, but you believe that they are. Excellent answer. Excellent answer. What is faith? Anybody? Are y'all going to let Mr. Thompson do it all by himself? What is faith? I guess y'all say, good answer, good answer. It's like family. Good answer, good answer. All right, so let's look at this. See, the reason why I asked what is faith is because as I spoke to you about that term, the gospel, it was a common meaning during the time, and there's an association to it. But if we look at the gospel was not just this political message that was coming through. The gospel is not just good news. The key to the gospel is that Jesus already won. The victory is already here. Okay, so now when we look at faith, we have to determine what faith is outside of culture. Outside, because it's commonly used. People use the word faith all the time, but it doesn't mean that they're using faith the right way. So when we look at the dictionary would describe faith as complete trust or confidence in someone or something. It also says that faith is a strong belief in God or in the doctrines of a religion based on spiritual apprehension instead of proof. Now, that's not true. Faith is not about not having proof. But this is what our English language describes faith as. So that word faith is used every day. It's used in conversation. And if we take a look at it, there can be, in our language, 7 different uses of faith. And the common misconception is that it's belief in something while lacking any evidence for it. It's false. So, what does the Bible mean by faith? The closest that the Bible explains to us about faith is found in Hebrews chapter 11. And that's where we're going to go. Hebrews chapter 11. And we're going to look at verses 1 through 3. Hebrews 11, verses 1 through 3. So in Hebrews 11, verse 1, it says, now faith is confidence in what we hope for, and assurance about what we do not see. Verse 2 says, this is what the ancients were commended for. And finally, verse 3, by faith we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. So now we're beginning to understand a little more about faith. Faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. I don't have to see it to be assured or to be confident in what God is able to do. By faith, we understand that the universe was formed. I look around, there's a number of things I can see. There's a lot of proof I can see. I have greater confidence in God than a Big Bang theory. So now, from this passage of Scripture, we see that the central feature of faith is confidence or trust. The central theme of faith is confidence or trust. Trust does not mean that I don't have proof. I have trust. In the Bible, the object of faith is God and his promises. My object, my focus, my point of faith is God and his promises. So now, let's look at Abraham as an example. Abraham has an encounter with Jesus in Genesis 15. Abraham does not have children, but he's told he's going to be the father of many nations. God makes a promise to Abraham that sounds impossible. Abraham has a wife who is past the childbearing age. Somebody say, thank God I'm not Sarah. But God makes him a promise, I'm going to make you the father of many nations. So that means you're going to have children. How is he in a place that he cannot have children, but God says you're going to have children? Who remembers, what does Abraham and Sarah do because they're having a bit of a problem with their faith? They took matters in their own hand. Sarah being past the childbearing age, Abraham was still able to have children. She says, take my concubine, go to her, and basically have your kids. That's a plan. But because of hindsight, because we know, we can see what happened, that wasn't God's plan. Brothers and sisters, please be careful when you're planning. Please be careful. In all thy ways acknowledge him. No, I got it, Lord. I know what to do. I'm going to go get the concubine. Please be careful in your planning. So, Paul comments on this. Let's go to Romans chapter 4. Romans chapter 4, verses 20 and 21. Oh, that's not what, there we go. Romans 4, 20 and 21. In Romans chapter 4, verse 20, Paul says, yet he did not waver through unbelief regarding the promise of God, but was strengthened in his faith and gave glory to God. So now, after Abraham and Sarah, they blew it, they messed stuff up, God had to reset them. God gets them to believe. He says, look, you're going to have a son, you're going to have a seed, and it's going to be how I designed it. It's going to be through Sarah. Sarah's having a hard time believing this, understanding it. But then God begins to move work. He strengthens them. And now this promise of unbelief, that Abraham begins to believe God. So now in verse number 21, it says, being fully persuaded that God had power to do what he promised to do. That's the thing. We have to be fully persuaded that God has the power to do what he said he's going to do. That's faith. That's belief. That when I look out, it look like it ain't going to happen. But that doesn't scare me. It doesn't throw me off track. Because I'm fully persuaded, oh, God's got the power to do that. God has the power. So we can conclude faith means putting your trust in God and having the confidence that he will fulfill the promise. That's faith. Faith is beyond intellectual agreement. Well, Pastor, why is there an issue with intellectual agreement? Because that means I have to understand it. But my ways are not your ways, and my thoughts are not your thoughts, God says. Faith is not blind, it's not stupid. But faith is saying, I don't have to understand the promise, I just need to believe the promise. I don't have to understand how you take Israel and lead them to a Red Sea that seems like a dead end. Faith say we here, and no matter what's going to happen, God going to do something. Imagine, if you will, imagine going to the circus and you see high up in the air the big long tightrope. And you see the acrobat going across the tightrope with a wheelbarrow. And they're going back and forth. So now I can believe that they are able to take a wheelbarrow back and forth across the tightrope. With there being no net underneath for safety, do I believe that I can get in the wheelbarrow and they take me across the tightrope back and forth? After watching them go back and forth several times, they ask for a volunteer to sit in the wheelbarrow, and intellectually, you may believe that he can successfully or she can successfully push you across the rope, back and forth. But you are not exercising biblical faith until you get in the wheelbarrow. So my intellect saying, oh yeah, I believe that can happen, is not the same as my biblical faith that say, let me get in. Peter, Lord, if you bid me to come, I'll come. I'll walk on water. He got to get in the water. And he steps in the water. Intellect is one aspect of something, but biblical faith does not happen until we entrust ourselves into the tightrope walker's hands. We have to entrust ourselves into the hands of God. Lord, I believe, but you're not putting yourself fully in his hands. It's not until we fully put our trust in him. Genuine biblical faith expresses itself in everyday life. Genuine biblical faith. James writes for us, faith by itself, apart from works, is dead. So now, faith without works is dead. Faith works through love to produce the tangible evidence of its existence in a person's life. Let's go to Galatians 5 and 6 real quick. Galatians 5 and 6. As we go to Galatians 5 and 6, and we're looking at faith, it's important that we are able to truly trust. Galatians 5 and 6, that's what I'm on. For in Jesus Christ, neither circumcision availeth anything, nor uncircumcision, but faith which worketh by love. So that's why I say faith works through love to produce the tangible evidence of its existence in the person's life. You see, this is the obedience that pleases God. This is obedience. God, if God looks at us, are we willing to be obedient enough to trust him as God operates out of love? He operates out of care. That I can entrust what I'm doing in his hands. Now, when we look at the obedience that pleases God, rather than doing this out of duty or obligation. So if you take any relationship, if things are done out of obligation, it's not the same when it's done out of love. Oh, I decided to tell you I love you today because that's probably what I should do. I don't sound like I just tell me you love me. Don't give me the rationale behind it. You said you want flowers, so tell me which day you want them, and I'll just send them. Yes, it's nice, but it just doesn't seem the same. Like, I sent you flowers because I just wanted to say I love you, care about you, or I was thinking about you. But no, it's going to be out of obligation. So there's a difference. There's a difference between a husband who buys his wife flowers out of delight as opposed to duty. This is just my duty. Biblical faith takes present day possessions of things not seen with our eyes, but hoped for in the future. It's what God has revealed in his word becomes our reality. My reality is not this world. My reality is what God has revealed in his word. If I look at this world as my reality, then now I'm thrown off from what God is doing. I need to understand spiritual things. So therefore, my reality is the hope and the words and the principles that God has laid out, not what I see. We walk by faith, not by sight. If I'm walking by faith, then I can't concentrate on these things that I see here because it's a false reality. Instead of looking at life with our earthly eyes, faith puts on the lens of seeing it through the eyes of God. How does God see it? What is God doing? What does God want? Biblical definition of faith reaches beyond just mere belief. It's the simple acknowledgement that God exists. And that now I move into this realm of trust because God is real. My trust is that God has the power, God is faithful, God is going to keep his word, and God has already done these things. Therefore, I see no reason why it should change. I make it a point that if I tell my children I'm going to do something, that I do it. And that's why a lot of times they're going to hear, we'll see. But we'll see. I ain't ready to make that commitment yet. Tomorrow, will you take me to the store? We'll see. We'll see. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But definitely when I say, yes, I'm going to take you to the store, yes, I'm going to get that, then I got to make sure I do that. Because I'm trying to let them have that faith. Not that, oh, he said, but he don't mean it. It may happen, it may not happen. God says my word cannot come back to me void. So God says if I say it, oh yeah, it's going to happen. Faith is so important because it's the means by which we have a relationship with God. For by grace you have been saved through faith. Faith is how we receive the benefits of God. The benefits of what Jesus has done for us comes through faith. Paul says we walk by faith and not by sight. Faith does not put trust in a bank account. Faith does not put trust in headlines. Faith does not put trust in the doctor's report. Faith does not put trust in something that we gaze our eyes on that cannot be seen. I mean, we gaze our eyes on, rather, is something that cannot be seen. Our faith is not based upon everything I see, but faith is based upon God doing what he said he's going to do. That's my faith. Faith begins with God. It's his gift. It's not a result of my achievement. It's not a result of my efforts. Faith starts with God. It's a result that God has initiated a relationship with us. He loved us before we loved him. God proved himself before we even got involved. So now my faith is the relationship that God reveals himself to me. He shows me and draws me with his loving kindness. He provides for me and cares for me as the shepherd. He leads me to still water and green pastures. God has my best interests at heart. So all of these things come about and accumulate in my life to build my faith, to draw to God, to be saved. God expects us to respond to his faith, to respond to him as he pours out his love, as he shows us how he's faithful, he's committed. It's impossible to please God unless we have faith. That's Hebrews. That's still Hebrews. That's Hebrews 11:6. And without faith, it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. Failure to trust God takes us to sin. But when we trust God and we have faith in God, we can receive salvation. So it's not us that's going to save a person. I had people, come to me and say, so-and-so needs to be saved. Go talk to him. Okay, I'll talk to him, but I want you to know I'm not, I don't have something to pull out my pocket and just going to save them. Because they got to have faith. So yes, I want to see people saved. I want to see people's lives changed. But if they won't have faith in God, they trust in something else and they're not ready to come to God. There's nothing I can do, because God draws them. God saves them. But they got to have faith and believe it. So our salvation is dependent upon faith. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. It's in Matthew 7, where Jesus says, because you have so little faith, truly I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. Jesus reveals the power of faith. In a difficult, chaotic world, God has a solution for you, and that's faith. Something as simple as faith can change everything. Remember, I said, let me see, was I on camera? Yeah, I was on camera. I was talking about my orange juice and ginger ale and all that kind of stuff. I'm looking for this to help me. But when we put our faith and our trust in God, Orange juice, ginger ale, cough drops, so that's not the cure for the common cold because we don't have one yet. But God is able to do anything and all things. So now, if my faith is in him, anything can happen. But where are we putting our faith? It's by faith that people receive God's grace. They receive it in Jesus Christ, through him, the gift of salvation. Paul emphasizes, for I am not ashamed of this gospel, this good news about Christ. It is the power of God at work, saving everyone who believes. We got to believe it. He said to the Jew first and to the Gentile. The good news tells us how God makes us right in his sight. But we got to have faith. Faith is our benefit. Faith is our answer to trust in God. God draws us. God gives us the evidence. God gives us the proof. It's not blind. But will we choose faith? Will we choose to believe? We can believe and trust in a lot of things. But the question is, can we get in that wheelbarrow? Oh yeah, I believe it can happen until you got to get in it. I believe God heals until you need to be healed. I believe God can raise the dead until you need it to happen. I believe this, I believe that. So yeah, we can say we believe. Since you believe, have you received the Holy Spirit? He challenged them. You got to believe, but did you receive this? Do you have this? So we got to be willing to get in that wheelbarrow, on the tightrope, up high with no net, because we have faith. All right, so I want to encourage you. I was going to tell you what next week was. Well, I'm going to go next to Romans chapter 3, and I'm going to look at the law versus faith. We're going to look at the law versus faith. But we'll see. We'll get next week situated and go from there. But thank you all for joining us. Thank you for being out tonight in person. God bless you all. Glad to have you here. Online, we're going to say we love you. We care about you. But it's time for you to go. And you pray for our safe travels home. And we'll leave you. All right, there you go. All right, at this time, let us all stand. Reminder once again, 7:30 prayer Saturday, game day Sunday. So you could dress down and wear what you want. Wear your Browns. Don't wear any Baltimore. Wear your Browns. No.